Hello, everybody, and welcome to Barbie Dolls of the Week. So this time I'm back with another fellow collector. So I'm pleased to introduce you to Martin, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself. Welcome to Barbie Dolls of the Week, Martin.
Hi, Red. Nice to meet you and in real life with camera. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here.
Okay. Well, why don't you give us just a little bit of background on yourself and how you came into this world, so to speak.
Okay, so my name is Martin. I was born and grew up in Switzerland in a city called Basel. It's the third biggest city of Switzerland. And I have eight brothers and sisters, so we are a pretty huge family, very Catholic, and lived in a big house. Um, how I came to Barbie World, it was, I think, 1982, 1983.
Oh,
My
really?
sister, my older sister, she got the Dream Date Barbie, and I got cars. And my mom always told me, in this moment when my sister she took a book on Christmas under the tree and read it like she loved to read, and she became a lawyer. And I was so fascinated from this most beautiful doll I ever seen.
Oh.
So my cars was not interested anymore, and I played the whole night with this beautiful doll with the dress, the ruffle. And
Mm-hmm.
my mom made pictures. I asked her if she has the picture left, but she said it must be somewhere in the basement or so. So
Oh. Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Well, so you said it was,
she didn't put it in the photo album because she was ashamed that the boy played with the doll. So
no,
they
that's
are somewhere
terrible.
in a separate box.
Yeah. Well, I believe me, I understand that feeling. My mom would not have wanted me playing with the doll, let alone take a picture. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, I hope you find it. But you said that was Dream Date Barbie?
Dream Date.
Okay, so 82 time frame, like you also mentioned. So what happened after that? I mean, how did you go from that? Because about how old were you at that point?
I was around 2 or 3.
Oh, so quite
Um,
young.
yeah,
Okay.
so my godmother and my mom started then to buy me dolls
Oh,
because there was, in a way, that was pretty open-minded, but always careful. And um, I was not so nice to the dolls. So there was this little boy who played not very soft with with toys. So
mm-hmm.
I never cut the hair, but mostly of the neck splitted or the
Yeah.
legs was
Well,
destroyed.
when you're 3 years old, I wouldn't expect you to take good care of it. I mean, it's a toy, you play with it, so it's totally understandable.
Yeah, and I love
So,
them.
how did how did it go from that to more of a collecting?
Yeah. So after a while, and I stopped then playing with the dolls. I think it was around like 10, like mostly kids stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started be a professional seller in a
Mm-hmm.
toy store.
Oh, okay.
And then you meet your old friend Barbie again in the shelves, right? It was around the 2000s, so the lifelike dolls came out and the beautiful fashion. And the 90s, they had this huge hair and the big eyes. That was
Yeah.
not really my style, but my younger sister had them. And then I saw these 2000 dolls, with the softer hair.
Yeah.
And I started not really collecting, but oh, this is a cute doll, I buy her. Oh, this
Right.
is a nice fashion, I buy it.
Yeah.
And so it started very slowly, but 2006, I realized that I have moving boxes full of dolls.
Oh my.
And then I start to realize, well, I became a collector.
Oh, okay. So it was sort of an accidental collector in a way.
In the
Um,
first time, yeah. And then
yeah,
I started to collect vintage dolls first, like from the 60s.
yeah.
A woman, what I met on a free market, she had beautiful dolls there, and we start to keep a good friendship.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she collected from 1959, so she had the number one, the number two, many
Oh,
number threes, and she stopped 1974. So this was her time collecting era.
I see.
And in this moment, when I first touched a vintage doll with the fashion and the details,
Mm-hmm.
this was like, I need that too. It
Right.
makes me happy.
So you collect vintage as well.
Yeah, I would say I collect every year.
Okay. And do you have a certain era that's your favorite?
Mm, that the 80s. The 80s
80s.
are for me the most
All
beautiful.
right. Then you
It's,
and I
you
are
know, the
alike in that
superstar
regard.
era.
And why do you think it's the 80s that's your favorite? Because you were very young then.
Yeah, I think the fashion and like the role model Barbie was in this moment very strong for me. Like she was like a woman between 24 and I would say 35.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, very attractive, and when you look at the makeup from the Superstar Barbie, she was not overpainted.
Right,
So,
right.
so she was a pure nature beauty,
Mm.
and how you say, the smile, the loving smile, and the fashion, it was powerful. Also, you could be like day to night, like
Mhm.
a director Barbie, but
Yeah.
you also could be a dancer. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah,
made
there was a lot of variety in the 80s.
yeah,
Well, really, there's a lot of variety in all the eras, but I don't know, there's just something that draws me to the 80s dolls, and I know regular viewers know that here. So I'm interested that you are also in that because obviously that's when I started collecting, and I guess in a way that's when you started too. You said it was a 1982 Dream Date Barbie, so it kind of makes sense too. You were just a lot younger at the time, so um,
only 2 3 years.
yeah. I had just turned 16 when I started buying Barbies, and so that was either 81 or 82, somewhere in
Mhm.
there. So what did you mostly, when you got to the point where you're actually collecting them, what did you mostly do with it? Did you take pictures? Did you do any dioramas or anything like that?
The first point what I did is I opened the boxes very quick, and then I realized it makes for me not really as no sense because I'm not a player.
Mm-hmm.
So for me it was not really important to take her out,
Yeah.
because I feel like, oh wow, it's a good feeling, but then it's done. And
Mm,
then I have the damaged box with many little cute accessories lying around.
exactly.
So I stopped open the boxes.
Mm,
And the other point was, I have the original sealed boxes,
yeah.
but sometimes I like the doll still open because, like the Dream Date Barbie, I love the artworks on the box, but I
Yes.
also love that people can touch her and play with the ruffle.
Yes.
So you
Uh-huh.
need two. And
That's
sometimes I
right.
have to
Yeah, you absolutely need at least two. And back then we could get such good deals and through the years, I think that's one thing that's been helpful with eBay is just to get other second dolls sometimes. And sometimes you can get such a good deal when they weren't as expensive. Nowadays, they're more and more expensive for superstar dolls.
yeah.
But yeah, it definitely was. And where did it progress at that point? Or how did it progress at that point?
Well, I started first when people actually laughed about me, like, what you want to have with 80 crap?
Oh.
Because there was always like, the 70s was popular when I started to collect,
Hmm.
and of
Yeah.
course the vintage. So the 80s you could really easy find for, I would say, for 2 Swiss francs. That's maybe $180 on the free market.
Okay.
And sometimes I could have for $20 a whole box with vintage fashion, and it was not
Gosh.
it was not very hard to get first. Those days, it's
Yeah.
totally different. It's like when I said, "Oh, I'm really interested in this doll, Peaches and Cream," and they said, "Oh yeah, 40 Swiss francs."
Mm,
That's like in Switzerland, 40 Swiss francs is 2 hours of work in your
mm.
to pay a nude doll without jewelry and
Oh,
sometimes
for
with
a
a
nude
damaged
one.
neck. And so, I mean,
Mm.
you can tell it's became very crazy, the prices.
Yeah. Did you mostly get things? Where did you mostly get things? I mean, these days, where do you mostly get your dolls? eBay stores there in
Over Facebook,
Switzerland or where?
over Facebook, because we are like there are so many Barbie groups, and like the American groups, what you maybe know, they not send a lot or not easily to Europe, to
Right.
Switzerland. It became very hard to
Yeah.
get American products.
Yes.
So what we have German groups, French groups,
Hmm.
and Italian groups. And the
Okay.
good thing is, in the French group, for example, you get very rare European versions of the
Yeah.
dolls.
Right. Well, that's
But
nice.
you have to use the language. So thanks
Yeah.
God, I'm speaking also French, so it's not a big deal. But Italian, if you see something there, you just have to use the translator.
What about German? Do you speak German?
Fluently, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
what is your initial language?
so
Is it-
actually I speak Slovakian. Like my
Okay.
parents comes from Slovakia, and
Uh-huh.
when the Russian came in 1968, it was an invasion in Slovakia. So they left the country. My mom was 16 and my father 20. So I speak this language.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I grew up in Switzerland, so I speak Swiss German. It's a kind
Okay.
of German with as yeah, it sounds different. So Germans doesn't understand me, but I in the school we learned German as a main language.
Oh, okay. And when
And
did you learn English?
um, we started English in the high school,
Mm-hmm.
like I think with 12, 13.
Okay.
So you start in the with I think with 10 you start with the second language of your country. So in our country it would be French or Italian. So this is when I you have always to graduate in Switzerland with a second language.
Mm-hmm.
And the business language also here it's English.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now let me ask you this on as far as dolls. When you're buying dolls today, if you go to a store in Switzerland where you are, is it easy to find new Barbies?
Yeah, those days it's really not a big deal anymore. What we finally have, we have also the choice like African American and like also different kind of skin tones.
Mm-hmm.
Remember in the 80s or 90s when there was the Christie doll or Steven,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't get them in Switzerland. It
Oh,
was not possible.
right.
You know the booklets, you open it and you said, I would like to have the Christie. And they say, oh no, we don't import dolls in a
Yeah.
different color. You just had Teresa was the exotic one. And
Yeah.
the Kyra doll.
Oh, the Asian one. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like what you can get as a exotic doll in Switzerland.
I see.
Um, my first doll in exotic way was the Eskimo Barbie from Dolls
Oh,
of
yes. Mm-hmm.
and
Which
my
those are,
mom paid a fortune just for her because I wanted black haired Barbies because
mm-hmm.
my mom had long black hair and I
Uh,
want her. So try in the 80s to find a Barbie doll
yeah.
with not blonde hair.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so interesting because when I would go to the stores around here, and I live in a very diverse township or in this area, I had no problem. And I didn't realize it was a problem for other people that, depending on the area you were in, you could or could not find the African American or sometimes even Hispanic dolls or whoever. But maybe, you could always find the blonde Barbie. That wasn't a problem for anybody, it seems. But but yeah, I didn't realize that. So we had such a great selection, and I would, gravitate towards those African American or dark-haired dolls. So I totally understand what you're saying. I think you and I have a lot of similarities in some of the things we like. So now of course we see a lot of dolls behind you, and I know from having conversations with you in the past that you have quite a large collection. About how large is your collection at this point?
Well, actually, it should be like 4,500 open dolls and around 600 closed, also box dolls.
I'm sorry, can you say the first number again? What was it?
4,500.
Oh, 4,500. Okay.
Yeah.
As
Well,
you
it's
said.
not only Barbie, it's also the friends of Barbie. Like you have also how you call, like, the Chelsea dolls, the Shelleys,
Yeah,
Kelly.
right.
Yeah.
The littler ones. So like behind you, we see one or several dolls out of boxes.
Yeah.
So that's the one. So you're saying you have more out of boxes than in boxes. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's true, because when I just let me show, you
Okay.
see there is a wall with
Oh yeah, wonderful.
closed
Look at that.
boxes,
Yeah.
and here you have first always behind it's closed and the front it's open, and those dolls means a lot to me, because some of the dolls are own the last one that survived from my childhood, and some of them are 90 dolls. On this part here there's like a glass cabin with the collector dolls where I started. You see that?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see some Gone with the Wind, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the doll from my sister, and she gave it to me after she got the second boy. So
Well, now then, by the way, that case says Barbie. Where did you get that actual Barbie case?
remember I told you that I start to be a professional salesman. So I start in Switzerland. We go to school, like in a sales school, and we learn all this like bookkeeping and language, and the toy store closed sadly after I graduated. And the boss called me and said, Martin, I have the glass cabin from Barbie.
Oh, nice.
It was made for Mattel Switzerland, and they don't want to have it back because they changed the concept.
Right.
So they would trash it. And I said, no, I pick it up.
Oh yeah, of course. I would have done the same thing.
I have a few of these rarities here, even a Hart family house from Austria.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So did you get many from the Hart family?
Yeah, I have a lot of Hart family pieces here. Many people say it's not really Barbie related, but for me, it's like the good neighbor of Barbie.
Yeah, they're friends of Barbie regardless. So
yeah,
and to me, they're in the Barbie line. They may not be Barbie, but they're in the Barbie line.
Yeah.
I would say the same, by the way, about Kira and Teresa and Christy when they did Christy and the others. They're not Barbie, but they're in the Barbie line. So it's okay.
Yeah, I think the same too. It's the same size. They have the same figure, and I mean, it could be like that. Mrs. Hart was a good friend in the high school. Or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and to me, that's part of using your imagination, which is so much of what Barbie is about. Is to me, well, first of all, glamour and styling and so forth, but also using your imagination and doing stories and things when you want to, or if you want to. I agree with you, and I've said this many times, by the way, that you don't have to actually play with the dolls to be a doll collector. And some people have told me, oh, well, you're not a real doll collector unless you play with the dolls. Well, I just totally disagree with that. So that's not my opinion.
You can do whatever you want. I mean, there are people who rearrange the hair, or they change the fashion. Sometimes I have also say, wow, your version is better than the original. but I think this is the main point. Barbie is here to inspire us and to create something beautiful.
Yeah,
And in this case, I say there's no right way to collect.
that's right. No, you're right. It's however you want to proceed. So I think that that's the important thing. And also it's important not to try to put your ideas on someone else about that. So I
That's the
hope
point.
people learn from that, from some of these conversations.
Mhm.
Now, um, what do you do with the dolls you collect now? Are they mostly, like you said, kept in boxes, or do you take some of the newer ones out?
From the newer ones, actually nothing. I would say, let me now really think. When I did open, yeah, there was one case. I got a free market case with very nice fashion from those days, like maybe 1-2 season old.
Mm-hmm.
So I need dolls to wear the fashion. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did, I bought the dolls what I already had,
Mm-hmm.
open it, and redress them.
Yeah.
Like the
Okay.
fashionista dolls, like
Right.
it sounds, I don't know the right word in English, but I think the word cheap is not so nice.
No.
Like the and lower price is also not. So, but you know what I mean, like the
Yeah,
basic
their
line,
play
like
line. In
yeah,
this case, here's the difference. When we started collecting in the 80s, the play line was exquisite and it was very well done. And now the play line is truly that play line. And
yeah, the play line.
it is cheap. It's cheap. Now, I've said many times what I really like about the fashionistas, for instance, is all the different skin tones, all the different body shapes and face molds. So that's the very positive part of it. But yeah, the quality is not as good and they are kind of cheap. And especially when you look at the fashions, because when you look at
Yes,
some of those fashions that they call well, I don't even call them fashion, but well, I guess there are good fashion and bad fashion. But when you put a potato sack dress on a doll, and most of them are not going to look good. But that's the good thing. You can put them in other clothes, and that's what I like,
yeah.
redressing them. Now, do you do much of that? You mentioned the fashionistas, but like, are you interested in the Looks dolls or the BMR 1959 dolls? Or,
Well, the BMR 1959, I have all of them. I think it's
okay.
so sad that they stopped this line,
Oh yeah.
because
I didn't realize they did.
the extra
Uh-huh.
dolls, I have a few.
Uh-huh.
Wait, do you see them? Yeah,
Oh yeah. Yep.
I have only a few of them, so I'm not really into them. They are really high pricey here, and the
Okay.
same price like the BMR, and it's 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 not my way to see a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not into the
When
BMR.
sometimes the hair is pink, it's nice or funny, but when they start to live in a rainbow unicorn cotton country, no, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
just it's either you either like it or you don't. And I don't like the extra dolls all that much. I mean, there's a couple I think are okay, but you and I know you have to make choices. You can't get everything. And so if you don't like it a lot, to me, you don't get it. But the look styles I've been impressed with, and it's not so much because of the fashions again, it's a white and black on that first set.
Yeah,
They're okay, but I like the dolls, and especially the male dolls are very well done, I think. The
I
faces.
we
So
couldn't
yeah.
buy the Lux dolls here in Switzerland,
Mm,
so I don't have them. A friend in Germany have them, and he adores them.
yeah.
What I think it's similar to the Lux was, the basics.
Yeah. Yes,
And
absolutely.
from the basics, I have a lot. So I think
Okay.
they are just breathtaking dolls.
Yeah.
And
Now let me ask you this. You said the look styles aren't available there, but are you able to order from like Amazon US? And do you have your own Amazon of some sort there
Switzerland doesn't support Amazon.
at all?
We only buy books. If you buy a book,
Okay.
it's different. But we have different kind of taxes, and Amazon couldn't work with Switzerland anymore. Before, I was a very big client of Amazon. They stopped that. So
Well, what do you mean by Switzerland doesn't support Amazon? What do you mean by that? Doesn't
I didn't follow that very strong, but there was a problem with the taxes.
Oh, okay. So it was something related to that, not something philosophical about Amazon.
No. I think the point was that they want that Amazon pay taxes to Switzerland to
Well,
import
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And this was not a good idea. So
Yeah.
Amazon said off, F,
Okay.
pum, 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 off.
Yeah.
and so they stopped. So
Okay.
what I sometimes do, like when I need something very special, then I ask my friend in Germany. He order it, I pay him, and then we meet like maybe all second month in Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So
Well,
now it became rare, like maybe now twice a year. About the pandemic, it became very, very hard to go
yeah,
over the border. So
that would simply make things much harder, I'm sure. What about eBay? As far as US eBay or European eBay, how does that work for you?
I have a friend, and he have a special post center in America. When I need, for example, let's say I want to have a Loving You Barbie packed or boxed, I have to ask him, and he order it to his point, and then they ship it to Germany. And from Germany, he ship it to my friend, and my friend bring it to me, because the shipping costs from eBay America, it's became so crazy.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because I know when I sell something and it's for an international person, it goes to Kentucky first from where I live in Indianapolis, goes to a city in Kentucky, and then they ship it out. So all I pay for is to get it from Indianapolis to Kentucky, which isn't a lot. And then it's whatever they pay is based on where they are, of course.
Yeah.
So it's,
And
yeah, I'm sure it's not cheap.
sometimes, when I want to buy, let's say a little dress, and it's written with $5, and then shipping cost to Switzerland, $36.
Yeah. And don't you have to pay import fees too?
Yeah, sometimes too. And then it's crazy, because they calculate in Switzerland the price of the shipping to the dress.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
it's then like $41, and then they
no.
said, oh yeah, and it's 10 Swiss francs taxes. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's definitely a challenge for collecting from outside your country.
but we have
And we're so lucky here, blessed in the US, that we so rarely have to do that now. If we're trying to get a European exclusive or something from South America that was exclusive, yeah, of course that's different. But most things we can just buy right here, and we don't have to worry about this exorbitant shipping or import fees. So I hope everybody realizes how lucky we are here when we get.
but we have also eBay Germany, we have eBay France, Italy, and
So that makes it easier, not quite as
makes
much
easier.
shipping.
Not for Switzerland. We are not in the European Union.
Yeah, right.
We are not. We are independent country, not in this EU union.
Yeah.
So this makes everything a little bit complicated. But if you have friends like my friend in Germany, he can order in every country from the European Union, and then he just bring it over the border.
Oh, he brings it to you. Okay. Yeah, because I think sometimes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Switzerland is close to German, and sometimes it's just a river. And he lives in a city who's quite interesting, because the city was from the Habsburgers. So it's a city who was complete till the Second World War. And now it's splitted. So there is the German city part and the Swiss and the British.
Oh, Boy.
And in the old time, it was a whole city, but now it's a half. But it was open till the pandemic, and then
Yeah.
even then they closed the bridge. Now she's open again,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's
So
not.
if he comes to visit, if he actually comes to visit you, about how long of a trip is it? I mean, to get there.
Well, in the old before I moved to this east part of Switzerland,
Mhm.
it was just 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And now I live a little bit far away, so
Yeah.
he need now an hour with
Oh,
by
I see.
car.
Still not too bad.
No, it's not. And then he joined me here, and I buy cake, and we drink
Hmm.
coffee, and
Yeah.
we enjoy. We call it playing, you know,
Yeah, sure. Nice visit.
chatting, and I'm pretty happy to have him in my life, and he is
Good.
one of the people who make this whole situation, what we have on the world now, the pandemic, much easier.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Now let's talk just a little bit about storing dolls, because I always mention on my videos that one of the biggest challenge is space. So I think you mentioned earlier that you're actually in a different space right now, physically, I mean, sitting there, than your home. So do you have dolls in your home too? And then did you have to rent this space?
Well, okay, um, in my house where I lived, there was always a separate area, because I said to myself always, keep your passion of dolls separate from your other part of life.
Mm,
So, and my partner
mhm.
appreciate that very
Yeah.
much, because he's not into dolls.
Right, right.
But
I
I have
understand.
dolls at home because sometimes I sew for them and I design fashions.
Uh-huh.
So there are the dolls, sometimes only the dolls parts without heads, because I need them as mannequins.
Hmm.
And the whole collection is kept in this room here.
I
Um,
see.
it's outside from, let's say, from the neighborhood where I live, half hour by walk, and
Okay.
it's in a huge business building in
Oh,
the basement.
I see. Okay. But in your where you used to live, I know you sent me pictures. Was that in the attic or something about, I
That
think?
was my own house in the
Yeah.
attic. I sold the house 2019.
Yeah.
Um,
It was a
it was a
beautiful
quite
space.
beautiful house. I loved it. Sometimes I miss the house, but you cannot live in a place where you can't find jobs anymore.
Right. So it
And
was a job related move.
first, I moved there because there was an amazing toy store, and
Mhm.
I was pretty exciting to have there a very good position. And later I thought maybe I can get the business for myself.
Sure.
But it's a old family business, and the people there are also very old and special, and not open for ideas or innovations. So
Yeah. Well, let me ask you one more question. That is, you mentioned, of course, the pandemic, and that's affected everybody so many ways over the last, what, about 18 months. So before the pandemic, and I guess now too, do you have, other than your friend from Germany, I mean, do you have any other local Swiss Barbie collectors that you're in contact with, or hang out with sometimes?
yeah, we have a Swiss group. We are like, maybe I would say between 4 and 8 people.
Mhm.
um, of course we couldn't see us a lot. There are people who are unvaccinated, or they can't get vaccinated because they have problems, health
Sure.
issues,
Uh-huh.
or they just don't want to take the risk because their parents are in an age
Yeah.
where even then could be a very problematic situation.
Yeah.
And we have a little store in Kreuzlingen, and this store called Think Pink and More, and it's from Beate, a very amazing person, and she is open for everything and everyone, and she have a little coffee corner there, and you can meet there talk, chat, and so.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, all in the health situation. So there is always she taking care that everything is safe.
Right. Okay, good. Well, it's nice to know that, there are some local people, and, you can always meet virtually too. And I assume, did you do some virtual meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we sometimes have that. We have also some conventions like
yeah,
virtual conventions, but it's not the same, you know.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
What, do you have sometimes sales like Barbie sales or doll show sales there?
Yeah. Before the pandemic, we had also in Germany beautiful conventions and
Yeah.
little like sale places where all the collectors
Hmm.
came and joined and sold their stuff what they have doubled 3 times. It was always a very good community.
Good.
Now those days um it became harder, but
Yeah.
we
It's on
still
hold.
have like Facebook groups where you can put picture albums. Like there's a fantastic group, it called Barbie Looking For. So
Right.
you can put everything inside what you need. Like I need the belt, the purse, or the brown shoes. And sometimes when people are bored, they go through and then they write you like after a month, I have the brown shoes and the belt.
Yeah.
So it still works. And
Well, and speaking of things that could be missing, let's not forget to talk about your jewelry that you make for Barbies.
yeah.
So I've mentioned this in my videos in the past at least twice, I know. But everyone, Martin makes Superstar jewelry. So for those wonderful 80s jewelry, pendants and earrings, and, what am I forgetting? Just the regular necklace, the rings.
Yeah.
So he makes replacements of those. And I know, of course, you make the clear ones, but what other colors are available?
Oh, many. We got now a new contract. Like we started like 5 years ago. And now we have the colors from Swarovski and Preciosa. That's like really crystal jewelries and not glass. It's really
Mhm.
crystal.
Okay.
And wait, I just will bring it to show. A moment.
Okay, sure. Meantime, we can look at all the beautiful dolls again. Like we see
Look.
Masquerade Barbie. Oh, nice. You have a stand
So
and everything.
what we have here, I can show it here. So this
Okay.
is,
Yeah, see, that's looks exactly like what we're used to. That's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, and I've
Um,
gotten, and you sent me some samples and they're wonderful.
Thank you so much. And we have now also the yellow
Yeah.
one, the citrine, like
Uh-huh.
the classical golden dream.
Yeah.
And there are
Uh-huh.
so many color arrangements. Now here, of course, the typical
Yeah, the
Christmas.
pendant style. I love those. Those are my favorites, the pendant style
And
ones.
what we now did is, for loving you, we always thought why she doesn't wear a necklace. I mean, it's loving you. So
I
we
know.
created now one for her.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that would look great on her. I always
Yeah,
see it, yeah, there's just several dolls. I just think they didn't have certain jewelry and they would have looked better with that
yeah.
jewelry.
And my partner Flavio, he designed then the faces for it.
Oh, you mean the artwork?
Yeah, he's an
Okay.
illustrator.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's nice.
he do it for me, but he do it for international book covers and for magazines or
Mhm.
computer games. So he only do it for me, and he said always, "Ah, you see how I love you," and I said, "Yes, thank you."
Now, let me ask you this. I notice it does not say on any of that packaging or the rack or the whatever that thing is, the holding it. It doesn't say Barbie. Is that so that you don't get in trouble with Mattel for using the Barbie logo?
Yeah, and I have a client, and she collect Petra dolls, the
Yes,
German doll Petra,
right.
and she used my jewelry.
Okay. Yeah, you can use it on more than Barbie, that's for sure.
Yeah, because the system of the jewelries is the same like Petra used or Steffi Love in the early beginning.
Mhm.
So for me, it's not, and it's not that I want to copy something for Mattel, but
Mhm.
it's like a service, because I'm pretty sure Mattel does the best and focus on the future. But the old girls from Mattel, they doesn't look complete without.
Oh, yeah, you're used to that. And you know, when they do reproductions, they still make that jewelry somehow.
But
But
not
so
that good.
yeah, not the same.
No,
Not
I
really.
had a lot research done, and I think the old jewelry, they have this kind of form and system,
Mhm.
and we testing all the time how we can get better. Like the first one was very a hard material, and 3 years later people said sometimes they could break.
Oh, okay.
So there we are in the moment when I realized that there are collectors who play with the dolls. So
Mhm.
they changed the color of the jewelry.
Okay.
And now they are flexible and it's not glued anymore. So it's like you we we push the stone in
Ah, okay.
like the original one.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's just so I just love that you do that. And what we'll do is we'll put the link to your store here on the comments of this
That's
video.
very nice.
And then the other thing is maybe we can do an additional video if you want, where you kind of give us a bigger tour of your collection, because you know these first videos are more to get to know you and to learn a little bit about your collection. But if you want to do a second video, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, why
But
not? I'm open it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm open for it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm sure everyone is glad to hear that, because we love seeing everyone's collection, especially when they have such a fabulous one. But for now, I'm going to thank you very much for joining me today. And it's been very fun to actually we've actually talked a little bit on Facebook, you know, before, and certainly in messages, but not ever really had a conversation like
No,
this. So
no, we
I
really
so
mostly
appreciate
wrote
that.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been fun. So thank you. And if you'll stay on for just a minute, I'm going to say goodbye to the viewers for today. And again, thank you, Martin, and everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Another Barbie Dolls of the Week. We'll see you next time.